Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanodari Sodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Asatar Sadashi Shimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopya Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Maya Pranav Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gau Premanandi, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious to Shishi Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, text number 75. Anena Purusho Dehan Upadate Vimuchati Harsang Shokang Bhayang Dukang Sukhang Chanina Vindati Anena Purusho Dehan Upadate Vimuchati Harsang Sokang Bhayang Dukang Sukham Chanena Vindati Anena Purusho Dehan Upadate Vunchati Harsam Sokam Vayam Dukam Sukham Chanena Vindati Anena Purusho Dehan Upadate Vunchati Harsam Sokam Vayam Dukam Sukham Chanena Vindati Anena Purusho Deha Upadate Vunchati Harsam Sokam Vayam Deya Sukham Chanena Vindati Anena Purusho Deha Upadate Vunchati Harsam Sokam Vayam Dukam Sukham Chanena Vindati Anena Purusho Deha Upadate Vunchati Harsam Sokam Vayam Dukam Sukham Chanena Vindati. Anena, by this process, Purusha, the living entity, Dehan, gross bodies, Upadate, achieves, Vimuchati, gives up, Harsam, enjoyment, Sokam, lamentation, Bhayam, fear, Dukam, unhappiness, Sukham, happiness, Cha, also, Anena, by the gross body, Vindati, enjoys. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. By virtue of the processes of the subtle body, the living entity develops and gives up gross bodies. This is known as the transmigration of the soul. Thus the soul becomes subjected to different types of so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness. Purport. According to this explanation, one can clearly understand that originally the living entity was as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its pure spiritual existence. However, when the mind becomes polluted by desires for sense gratification in the material world, the living entity drops into the material conditions, as explained in this verse. Thus he begins his material existence, which means that he transmigrates from one body to another and becomes more and more entangled in material existence. The process of Krishna consciousness, by which one always thinks of Krishna, is the transcendental process by which one can revert to his original spiritual existence. Devotional service means always thinking of Krishna. Manmana bhavavan bhakto vajajimam namaskuru mami vaishasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me. Always think of me and become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Bhagavad Gita 18:65. One should always engage in the Lord's devotional service, as recommended in the Archana Marg. One should worship the deity in the temple and constantly offer obeisances to the spiritual master and the deity. These processes are recommended to one who actually wants to become free from material entanglement. Modern psychologists can study the actions of the mind, thinking, feeling, and willing, but they are unable to go deep into the matter. This is due to their lack of knowledge and to their not being associated with a liberated acharya. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam parampara paptam imam rajarsayo vidhu sakalayanina mahata yoganasta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of the succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Guided by so-called psychologists and philosophers, people in the modern age do not know of the activities of the subtle body, and thus cannot understand what is meant by the transmigration of the soul. In these matters, we have to take the authorized statements of Bhagavad Gita 2.13, Dehinosmin yata dehe kamaram yovaram jara tata dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such change. Unless all human society understands this important point, with this important verse in the Bhagavad Gita, civilization will advance in ignorance, not in knowledge. Homayanatamadandasya gyananjana salakaya chakshimalitam jena tasmai sri gurave namaha mukram krotavachalam pamunang hayate grim yat kripataraham mande sigurum dinataranam vanchakapatribhyascha kripasindhudyevacha putitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Prabhupada says here in the purport that the modern psychologists can study the actions of the mind, thinking, feeling, and willing, but they are unable to go deep into the matter. They can study the actions of the mind to some limited degree, but they can't study the actions of the soul. Although they're very intelligent, they can't understand the soul. Because they think that if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. So they don't accept the existence of the soul. Even big professors, scientists, scholars. It's like Prabhupada, when he went to Russia, there was this Professor Kutusky, and they were discussing. He was actually he studied Hinduism. He studied the Vedas. He knew about the Puranas and the Vedas, and he was actually very learned. But he said to Prabhupada, when the body dies, everything is finished. Prabhupada was shocked. He was so surprised. He was someone who studies the Vedas. I mean, there's so much knowledge there about the soul and Krishna and spiritual life. And He was shocked. So many so-called intelligent people can't understand this the subtle energy, but this is the reason that people act in certain ways, because there's a soul within the body. Without the soul, there's no action of the body, right? There's one professor and scientist who studied. Thank you. He studied reincarnation. Ian Stevenson. And he had about 3,000 examples of children. 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, who had remembrances of their past life. And they would give descriptions of where they lived, people that lived there, how they died, and just all kinds of information. And next to Prabhupada's and Krishna's given us so much information, he probably gives the most convincing understanding of reincarnation. Amazing. And there's one professor, he passed away I think in 2007. And then there's another professor that took on his mission of letting people know, there is reincarnation. And this is why some people, they have abilities to do amazing things, in their life. Prabhupada said that Ravi Shankar, he's been playing the sitar for 7 lifetimes. It's very good. There's one boy in China, 4 years old. He can play the piano like a master pianist. 4 years old, playing Mozart. It's just unbelievable. So where's that come from? 4 years old. Past life. And in book distribution also, sometimes we meet people that are, immediately very attracted. I remember I was in Australia distributing books, and at our Woodford Festival, we go there for 6 days and just distribute prasadam and books. Just we camp out. We pull out our tents. So I was distributing books there, and this one boy came, and he was excited. He was very impressed. I gave him a Bhagavad Gita, and then we went to, after the festival, we all went back to the farm, and he was there. He's still there, 4 years later. So we distribute so many books, and some people, sometimes they come back and, I'm not interested, give me my money back. All right. They weren't ready this lifetime. But some people are just like completely into it. Why? Why are we into it? Past life. So, and Prabhupada gives the example of the dry grass. Dry grass. You put a spark on dry grass, and fire comes out. You put it on the dry land, and it gradually goes out. You put it in water, and just fizzes right out. So most people in this age of Kali are the water, no interest, just fizzes out. Just no. Don't put that chip on my head. What are you talking about? You can't understand. Kali Yuga. And there's a devotee in L.A. Many of you know him, Krishnapad Prabhu. Nice devotee. The way he came, he joined the movement. A friend of his had joined the temple in L.A. and he wrote Krishnapad and said, I joined the Hare Krishnas over here. You come over, check it out. And So he made his way over there. I think he lived in the Midwest, one of those states over in the Midwest. So he went to the LA temple, and as he was entering the temple, his friend had just left. He didn't even get a chance to see him. But Krishnapad stayed there. He's been there since 70, I think 77 or 78. Oh, did he? Oh, okay. So yeah, he just didn't even know anything about Krishna. But he went to the temple and said, "Oh, this is good. I like this, you know." And he's like one of the main devotees there, you know. Savas told me, I don't know what I'd do without Krishnapad. You know, he just does so much service. Yeah. So there must some past life, you know, picked it up. Yeah. One person was in the big train station there in New York City. What is that? The bus station. Port Authority. One person was there, and a devotee approached him, distributed a book to him. And he didn't take the book, but he was impressed with the devotee. He felt like the devotee really cared. He didn't want to just do a bum's rush and just get some money from him and sell a book. But he was actually talking to him and concerned and spending some time with him. He didn't take the book, but he was left with a good impression. 3 years later, he's in Florida, and again he's approached by another devotee, and offers the book to him, and again he's very impressed. These people are nice people. Again he didn't take the book, but he asked, "Do you guys have a center around here?" And they said, "Yeah." He got the address, and he went and checked out the center there. And he was very impressed, all the devotees. He stayed. Never read a line of Prabhupada's books. But just by associating with the devotees, he was impressed. Daura Brahman, Prabhu. You know Daura Brahman? That's how he joined. Yeah. So, past life, somehow he was just attracted. So, unfortunately, there's very few people in the world that understand that as the soul is going through this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul is going to go into another body. It's going to continue. Very few people. I don't think there's any religions that believe that reincarnation, right? If there is, it's all stemming out of India. Yeah. Very few. Although in Christianity, in the 1800s, there was a large group of Christians in France that believed in reincarnation. And they were all killed by the Christians, by the Catholics. Yeah. What were they called? Heretics. Yeah. Yeah. Killed them. Yeah. So we're given this knowledge. Actually, there's a statement that the living entity Maya Mugdha Jivara Nahi Swati Krishna Jivara Kupoya Kola Krishna Veda Puran, that the living entity cannot revive his Krishna consciousness or his awareness of the soul on his own. Therefore, Krishna comes and he gives us the Vedic literatures to help us understand these realities. Yeah. But there is a person who, without any guidance of a guru, any guidance of the Vedas, had a firm understanding of the soul. Socrates. Prabhupada was very fond of Socrates. So intelligent, just by his intellect, he was able to realize. He was a self-realized soul. So much so that he was teaching this knowledge to the students there in Athens. And the leaders there, they didn't. This is going off. This is going off here. We don't want you to teach this anymore. And if you don't stop, we're going to take your life. And he said, well, you could do whatever you want, but I'm going to continue teaching what I'm teaching. He was very popular amongst the students. So they said, all right, we're going to kill you. And the student said, Socrates, you can leave. You can. No, I'm not going to. I'm not afraid. I'm not going to die. So then, before they gave him this, I think, some hemlock, poison. So how do you want to be taken care of afterwards? You want to be buried? You want to be burned? What did he say? You'll have to catch me. Because he knew, I'm not going to die. Amazing, huh? Prabhupada was very fond of Socrates. But most people, they can't understand. So therefore, as Prabhupada says in the last sentence here, that people are advancing in ignorance. Instead of it, the purpose of the human form of life is we're supposed to advance in knowledge, right? That's why there's so many universities and schools. We're supposed to advance. But you go to these universities, they're teaching, so much nonsense. Evolution theory and Big Bang theory and this theory and that theory, and theories are changing, and just madness. So therefore it's stated, Prayana Payapasa Kalavas Minjagajana Mandu Samunda Mati Munda Bhagi. In this age of Kali, people are short-lived, always quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So the biggest problem of the age of Kali is people being misguided. People being misguided. We have so many teachers, but they're andha. They're blind. They're blind, and they're teaching others to also become blind. Therefore we have Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga. Full on. So Prabhupada came to teach us, and Krishna comes to teach us, to surrender to Krishna. This is the happiness of the soul. This is the pleasure of the soul, to surrender to Krishna. And one time Prabhupada said that we should be yes men to Krishna. Whatever he says, yes sir. Prabhupada says, just as in the military, we should be yes men to Krishna. And he gives us so many wonderful instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and the Uddhava Gita. So we're meant to hear these instructions and follow the instructions. In this way we'll be happy. Now in this verse, it's explained that having come here, one becomes subjected to different types of so-called happiness, or so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness. So we really blew it when we came to this world. We really blew it. But now we're getting an opportunity to correct ourselves. As Vaisesika Prabhu said, we should live to be corrected. If we don't get corrected, if we're doing something wrong, we don't get some correction, then we just continue going on the wrong way. I remember when I was a Bhakti in Miami, there was a devotee, nice devotee. He was very good at correctional. Was it criticism? Was it constructive criticism? It was very good, and I appreciated it so much because he helped me. Get straightened out. Just a spaced out Bhakti, didn't know what's going on. So he would very nicely give me go in the right direction, and we should want that. Sometimes if someone criticizes us, why is he criticizing me? We get defensive. Well, no, we should appreciate it. Yeah. We should appreciate it. Yeah. So here it's said that a so-called enjoyment, it's not real enjoyment. Just like there's a statement, hlada tapakari, which means that the happiness here is mixed with happiness and unhappiness. Yeah. It appears to be happiness, just like I had a friend that was going to USC up in LA. Top school, one of the top schools in the country, actually. So after he was going there for about a month, I said, so how was the school? How do you like it? He said, oh, it's great, I love it, it's such a nice school. So then he went to school there for 4 years. So just before he graduated, I asked him, so how's the school? He said, oh God, I'm so glad to get out of this school. He was so happy to leave. Just happiness in the beginning, and then distress in the end. Yeah. So this is the nature of this world. It's like they have one statistic that 85% of the people working in America don't like their job. Yeah. Of course, there's another statistic, or there's a saying that there's lies, there's damn lies, and there's statistics. It's like you can't always believe statistics. I was looking this up, and there's another statement that says 85% of the people do like their job. Kind of balance it out, maybe 50%, 50-50. But there's a lot of people that have jobs that don't like their job. But in the beginning, I had that experience. I had a job. It was nice in the beginning, but then eventually actually my brother, bless his soul, atheist, big time atheist. Just a born again atheist, He told me, if you're ever in a situation that you don't like, then just give it up, because it'll bring you down. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good instruction. Yeah. So whatever it was, if there was a job, if the job just got old or something I didn't like, I just quit. Or a relationship or anything. It was nice in the beginning, and as you kind of got old and bitter, I just I just give it up, And that was a great instruction, because when I found the Bhagavad Gita, all right, this is good. So I stuck with it. So I told him that. He appreciated it. Although he's not so appreciative of my joining the Hare Krishna movement. He's happy that I'm happy, at least. I helped him, or he helped me become happy. So he appreciated that. So this is the nature of this world. That's it appears nice, but then eventually the true colors come out. So then he mentions here lamentation, fear. Fear is a big one in this world. It's like we have so many insurance companies. Yeah. You can insure your house. You can insure. There's life insurance. There's car insurance. There's dental insurance. There's health insurance, animal insurance. Yeah, that's a big one too. There's so many different types of insurance. Why? There's fear. What if I get in an accident and the person who hits me is not insured? I'm stuck with this car that's finished. Or house. Actually, the reason the house insurance, insurance started back in the 1600s. I was checking it out when it started. In England, in London, there was big fire, like thousands of houses burned down. And they were stuck. Yeah. So from that, one businessman started this insurance thing. Yeah. So then it just went on to all kinds of things. But yeah, there's so much fear in this world. There's a nice statement in the Srimad Bhagavatam that just as when a person is in a forest, it's dark, it's cold, they can be fearful, animals, But when he approaches a sacred fire, then immediately the cold, the fear, the darkness is eliminated. Similarly, when one engages in the service of Krishna and Krishna's devotees, then immediately the fear, the illusion, the darkness, the ignorance is eliminated. So this is the benefit of service to Krishna, to service to the spiritual master, that one becomes free of these unwanted things. Who wants to experience fear? Nobody likes fear, darkness, illusion. So we're getting an opportunity to become free of this fear, anxiety, and this is possible to achieve by taking shelter of Krishna. And he gives the direction here in this verse, this fourfold program. Manmana bhavamad bhakto majjajimam namaskru mamavaisasi satyante pratijane priyosyame. That always think of me. We got to think of something. Got to think of something. So better think of Krishna. Prabhupada was speaking about this, and he said, interesting, he said, you can't think of two things at once. Interesting, huh? You may think you can, but actually we can only think of one thing at a time. You can think of something else right after, but you can only think of one thing at a time. So better think of Krishna. So many things we can think of in this world, like billions of things, right? So better think of Krishna. And we should do things that help us to remember Krishna. Just like reading Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita. These things help us remember Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavad Gita. These things help us remember Krishna. And we should avoid allowing our consciousness to think of things that are not related to Krishna. Yeah. Just like if we watch a movie or look at the news or something, then the next day we're chanting japa, and these things come to mind. You ever had that experience? Yeah. I've had that experience. So I stopped reading the news because it's all bad news anyway. It doesn't no benefit. And then I'm chanting japa the next day, and it comes into mind. It's a disturbance, right? So better we allow our consciousness to be absorbed in Krishna. Then, when we're chanting the japa the next day or whatever, then this doesn't interrupt our devotional service. Because we want to think of Krishna as he is. We don't want to think of Krishna filtered through our contaminated consciousness. Yeah? And if we allow our consciousness to think of other things that are not related to Krishna, that don't help us, then we're not going to think of Krishna as he is. Yeah. Prabhupada came and gave us Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, so that we could think of Krishna as he is, not filtered for contaminated consciousness. We got to purify our consciousness and just fill it with Krishna. Yeah. So always think of me, become my devotee. Yeah. And previously we were devoted to so many other things, rock stars and movie stars and this star and that star. But now we're so fortunate that we're absorbing our consciousness in Krishna, becoming devotees of Krishna. It's not easy to be a devotee of Krishna, because here we are in Maya's kingdom, and she's got a strong hold. She's powerful. But Krishna is more powerful. Krishna is more powerful. And a devotee if he surrenders to Krishna, he can conquer Krishna. Krishna is known as Ajita. He's unconquerable. Can't conquer Krishna. Just like when Krishna was here, how many demons tried to conquer Krishna? So many. None of them. But he was conquered by Mother Yasoda. Yeah. She got a stick and he's running. He's running from Mother Yasoda. She got that stick. Throughout the world, so actually here in America, so many people, they believe in God, but they're worshiping God, they're praying to God, and so much awe and reverence. But Krishna, he likes to be chased by a stick. He likes that. He likes to be chastised. He likes his cowherd friends climb on his shoulder. Krishna likes this. He loves it, actually. Just like the president. We have a new president now. And he has so many grandchildren. And when he goes and he visits his family and the grandchildren, they come and they jump on his lap and they pull his ear and they mess up his hair or something. And he likes that. But then he goes to the capital, he's getting so much respect. As soon as he walks in, everybody stands. So much respect. But he appreciates it so much more when he's getting played with by his grandchild, or maybe great-grandchild, maybe. So, and Prabhupada gave the example of of one prime minister of England. He was in his office, and another important person came from another country, and he wanted to meet with him. And the secretary said, "No, he's busy now. Just wait a while." So he's waiting. He's waiting. And about an hour goes by, and he kind of peeks in there, and what's the prime minister doing? He's playing horsey. Grandchild's on his back, and the grandchild saying, "Come on, giddy up, go." So here he is, a prime minister, big person, but he's having a good time. Playing with his grandchild, and he wants to do that more than meeting with this big person from another country. So Krishna's like that. He likes to play. He's very playful. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, we can go back to Krishna, and we can become the friend of Krishna, or we can become the father of Krishna, or conjugal relationship with Krishna. So many different relationships we could have with Krishna. So, we just have to take this process very seriously. So, any question or comments?
So you're mentioning in your talk about mentioned how in school these days they teach a bunch of nonsense. And I was thinking how Prabhupada would call the schools slaughterhouses. And if you really think about it, that's quite a...
slaughterhouses for the soul.
Yeah, slaughterhouses for the soul. That's quite a intense term there, because, I mean, if you ever been in a slaughterhouse, or if you ever, walked in or saw a video of a slaughterhouse or something, it's quite intense. So I'm just, because we have in ISKCON, of course, kind of gradually and more places, it's more developed in the world, this Gurukul system. And some of the things that they teach in the slaughterhouse educational system is similar to what they teach in Gurukul system, math, geography, this and that. So I'm wondering, is it that Prabhupada termed this slaughterhouse education because of what they teach largely, or is it what they don't teach? because they're teaching certain things and then they're not teaching certain things. So, yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been out of school for a long time, and I've never. I didn't go to college, and also, what are they teaching in elementary nowadays? And so, anyways, maybe you could comment on that.
Yeah, nice question. Well, both. Prabhupada was at MIT, and he was speaking about the soul. And he asked the students, where is the course where you could learn about the soul? The difference between matter and spirit. Why is it that when someone dies, you can't put life back into the dead body? And they were like, yeah, why can't we learn about that? And so many students came up to him afterwards and were discussing. They were so impressed with Prabhupada's talk. So you can't go to any school, even in India, you can't go to any university in India and learn about the soul. You can't even go there and distribute Bhagavad Gitas on the campus. You have to go get permission. I know, I had the experience that we were distributing books. I had set up a table there at one university. They stopped me. You have to go get permission from the president of the university. Otherwise, you can't do it. Yeah. And fortunately, the person there, the president, was favorable, so they let us continue. But if the person was unfavorable, no, you have to go. So, yeah, so that's one thing, is that, yeah, they're not learning in school what they should be learning. You can't learn about God. I think it was in 1962, they stopped prayer to God in the schools in America here. Some big atheist, made a protest, so they took God out of the school, and then so many drugs and so much violence that went into the schools. In LA here, many of the students, they have to go through metal detectors before they go to school because they're bringing knives and guns to school. So they take God out of the schools, and so much nonsense goes into the schools. And also, they're teaching so much nonsense. They're teaching, like I mentioned, they're teaching about the evolution theory. They get brainwashed. I mean, they're so brainwashed into this. And they're so intelligent. These scientists and these professors are so intelligent. It sounds good. It sounds so good that I know one godbrother. He went to university and he read the whole evolution theory. He said, yeah, sounds good. All right, yeah. He accepts it. Devotee. Initiated devotee. Krishna gives them the intelligence. All right, you want the intelligence to understand how we've evolved from these different species? All right, I'll give you the intelligence. And it's so good that millions of people are completely convinced. It's amazing. So they're teaching this nonsense. The Big Bang Theory that God didn't create it. Was there's some what do they say, some some chunk, and then it exploded. But when there's an explosion, what happens? Chaos, not order. Not all the order we see throughout all the universes. It's just crazy. But people believe it. So yeah, they're teaching nonsense, and they're not teaching what they should be teaching. Yes, Mukunda, Charan, Babu.
Well, I was thinking this was just to add on to what you were speaking about, because you were saying both. There's some, because it can't just be, the modern schools the school system isn't just a slaughterhouse because of what they don't teach, but also what they do. There was a conversation, it came up at least multiple times with Srila Prabhupada, one of his disciples, about starting schools, children's schools. But in that conversation there was, it was discussed, can we include government, if you include government curriculum in our schools, then you can maybe get certain funding from the government, you can get, certain benefits. And so at least in a couple cases, every case I think that's at least you can find, at least in database, Prabhupada was very much against that. And in one discussion, when one of his leading disciples was bringing up to him that, okay, if we include government curriculum, then some benefits. Prabhupada was really, because this is the same disciple had already brought up previously, but became very. I can't think of what it was verbatim, but just something to the effect that never, really emphatic, never, include, let our schools, become like a government curriculum school. He was very much against.
Because if you get funding, then you have to teach what's being taught in other schools, right?
Yeah. The education system is because every government wants to develop their citizens as they see as as a good citizen. Whatever the government thinks is the best ideals. It's not like a conspiracy. It's naturally what governments do with the education system. So, if it's not a God-conscious government system, then what do you expect is going to be true?
Now we have some schools that are being funded. Our schools at temples, like in Alachua, right? It's being funded by the government. Now, do students have to hear this? I wonder about that. Interesting. Yeah, we get big funding from the government there. I wonder if we have to, they have to be taught what they're being taught at other schools, like this. Or I wonder if you have to, like these theories, like the evolution theory and Big Bang, if you have to teach that too. I wonder.
Use the microphone, please.
Don't mean to lighten the subject, but you could you teach it and you say, oh yeah, we're gonna teach this, but just to let you know, it's a bunch of nonsense, and this is why it's nonsense. Now, of course, I don't mean to lighten the.
Along that line, it's interesting to note that when Prabhupada started the BI, he started it with devotees who had learned that stuff, and they knew it like anything, but they became devotees and they became very powerful preachers and against it, because they were, they became devotees and they saw that, but they knew the ins and outs of academia. I mean, you had Sariputta and Vijaya Dasa and Rabindra Swarup, these. But one thing I was thinking of is that it's not only that the university system, I mean, it's evolving. When I went to school, I was a freshman in 1965 in the University of Chicago. And there was a whole, there was the humanities. In fact, the campus was like divided between those who wanted to do the humanities and the scientists, those who wanted to study math, especially because it was a very famous school for math, still is, and science and things like that.
Chicago University.
University of Chicago. It's on the level of Ivy League.
It's top school, yeah.
And but I, in terms of my own thing, I just stayed a few months. I was totally into anti-war movement and everything, and it was Vietnam. It was a different mentality. I didn't stay there very long. But the whole university system, there was a strong teaching of humanities. Which meant philosophy, it meant literature and arts and all these different
religion
things,
also.
But that's been decreased because the university system has become very, how should I say, money. They're more and more concerned with money, and this whole thing with student debt. They come out and they're like burdened with so much student debt. But it's like, well, what good is it for me to study humanities and read, Dickens or whatever, I'm going to learn computer science, right?
That's where the money is.
Yeah, and so less and less, and it's that type of. I mean, that I was into philosophy. I studied Socrates. I studied the ancient Greeks and stuff like that, and that at least keeps you open to philosophical inquiry. When it's all just like material knowledge and science and technology and banking, especially finance and all that, it becomes more demonic. It becomes more of a slaughterhouse. And I was thinking also, one thing is Prahlad's famous prayer, which you actually began with. You didn't quote the Sanskrit. Andaya tandaya rupanda yamana, the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
And this is the society we live in. So Prabhupada came to open the eyes right? Not with the knowledge of the books.
Thank you.
Of course, I think there's surely some scope for different perspectives on it, but I would even argue, I think you could make a good argument that what's even more detrimental to people's God consciousness is actually not decreasing humanities classes, but what is taught in humanities classes, because then people are taught they're taught philosophy, they're taught so many things, but a very particular idea. So I think that actually the humanities classes nowadays are actually worse than maybe people not taking them, because the humanities classes people do take, and what is allowed in humanities classes currently is, I think, much more dangerous to people developing pious sentiments. That's my personal bias.
Bhakti Alex. Right. Go ahead.
About what Dravida Prabhu was saying, how they're decreasing and kind of canceling, and there's a lot of tension. Actually, there's this teacher, works at it's not a university, but it's at the community college, Mesa College, and she calls us, and I go in there and I speak sometimes to her world religions class. But she was saying, the schools, canceling things in these departments, religion, philosophy, this, that. And she said she was feeling a little tension. But also, not just her, when we went to SDSU, I forgot her name, whatever her name was, at world religions teacher. But Damodar Kumar Prabhu and myself went there, we spoke, and she was also telling us, they're also cutting these different departments. She said she was also feeling this tension,
That she might be canceled also.
Yeah.
Alex.
This is just a personal experience I had.
Put your microphone to your mouth.
In college.
Closer.
I took a philosophy class. I mean, I was only in college for, 2 months or something like that. But I was taking a philosophy course, and my professor was, I guess he was one of the professors who was big on you could say atheist side of the whole debate in philosophy, in the philosophy world. I guess he worked under one of the big guys. And then, we went through different arguments, different kind of ontological arguments. And he'd bring one up, this is this person made this argument, this person made that argument. We'd bring him up. No. For God. And then he'd say, okay, why is this wrong? Why is this wrong? And then we would just, he just taught us basically how to dismantle
Just tear it down.
Yeah. Everything.
Wow.
Mike?
Yeah.
I read there's they measure how many people churchgoers, or how many in the United States. It has now fallen below 50%. More people don't adhere to any given organized religion, But in a sense, that's good for us, because you probably meet a lot of people that, I'm spiritual, but I don't belong to any religion, right? And that's why they're interested. Otherwise, as a Christian, no.
So now it's half-half.
Yeah.
Another
Because the
statistic.
impetus for religion is always there, even in Russia when they try to stamp it out, even in China, But in the United States, it was always 75%, Christian. Not anymore.
Now it's
young
half-half.
people are giving it up.
Well, I was adding on to what Alex said, that the default, even in many theology classes, it's the program is, let's look at these different theologies, these different ideas, and examine how why they think this, what led them to thinking this. Not so much from the basis that there may be some truth to it, but maybe there's some there may be some reason due to anthropology, or some kind of anthropological or sociological reason why they think these, but not necessarily. Actually, when I was in school, those people who were in philosophy classes or or even majoring in theology, those who actually believed in God were seen by others often as embarrassments for the field, because how can you actually and from a balanced point of view, study the thing and write about the thing if you're biased. The stronger point of view if you're studying theology is to be an atheist, because then you're equal to all of them. You can actually, and so actually those who were like studying theology, at least this was my experience, those who were studying theology and actually generally were Christian, if they were Christian, they believed in God, they were seen as kind of, embarrassments, or kind of lepers in the community. That was my impression. It wasn't, anyway, take it.
Thank you. Did you want to say something? Give him the, hey, he's got the,
I wanted your feedback on that. You mentioned
is it on?
Yeah.
You mentioned celebrities and stars and important people. They can't explain the soul. But I wanted to know. I want your feedback on, if they can't explain the soul, why did they say they sold that soul to the demonic nature or something? And according to Bhagavad Gita 2:20, which explains the soul, and the whole chapter explains the soul.
Yeah, some of them understand the soul. But I remember there was one friend. He wanted to be a famous musician. He was a good musician. He wanted to be famous. So he was speaking to another famous musician, and he was saying, "Yeah, I want to make it big too." And the person said, "Well, to get there, you got to sell your soul to the devil." He said, "Well, I don't want to do that." No, some people believe in the souls in all different fields of life. There's people that believe in the soul, some that don't. But yeah. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki? Yeah.